And game on!
Hey, game on, car. I can hear that behind your house. Somebody just ripped by. All right, game on. Oh, episode 12 of the Straight Off the Pipe podcast, proudly brought to you by the Heavy Hockey Network. I'm your co-host, Dash, aka Dash in the Park. I'm coming at you from my incarcerated basement in Sherwood Park, and this goon in the box next to me, and my co-host in this gong show is just back from solitary confinement after going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on our last episode and back in cell block 99. Ladies and gentlemen, inmate Dursa.
CC, senor. Uh, oh man, it's good. It's good to be back. Just a couple of days ago we did the Mark Messier episode, and good turnout there. Tonight, I guess we're gonna dedicate this one to a fallen comrade in Colby Cave, and you know, I guess I'll start this one by saying I was in Canadian Brew House with my fiance Kim, Lars Kallio, um, the Nation Dan was kind of doing Oilers Nation, kind of watch a game with the Oilers Nation crew, and Colby scored that day to take a 1-0 lead in the second period against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Absolute beautiful goal, and now that goal is and that whole experience is something that I'm never gonna forget. I guess I'll ask you, and I'm kind of hitting you with a knuckleball because you weren't expecting this. But do you have a favorite Colby Cave memory?
I was, yeah, and I wasn't expecting this, but I've thought about it a lot, since his passing, and there's a couple of them, to be honest. We were um, early for a game one time, and just watching him in warm-ups and the smile on his face. Just a guy that really loved the game. Also, I've got family in Lloyd, and getting some pictures sent from the procession and funeral proceedings that he had, and having hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of vehicles lined up, and yeah, that's my Colby Cave moment. Thanks for almost making me cry. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers. Yeah, shout out to Emily.
R.I.P. Colb.
Yeah, shout out to Emily Cave, who's trying to carry on, and I just want to say fuck you to anybody that gives her a hard time. Everybody can grieve in their own way, and some losses are harder than others, and that was her husband and the man she expected to grow old with and have babies with, and all that sort of got taken away tragically, and
Big time.
you know uh, the, I guess I'll say it, because I just I don't like to think something and not let it go. Um, Daniel Carcillo, shame on you for trying to make that whole incident about concussions in hockey and all that when you had no fucking clue what really happened there. Um, yeah, I guess that's all I'll say about that part. But so you want to
Carcelo is human clickbait, man. Like, let's be honest.
at the beginning of his whole thing, I kind of felt sympathy for him and stuff, but as
Car bomb, all right.
as a hockey player, you got to assume some risk when you play the game, and I don't think he assumes anything. Um, you know, I don't. I'm not looking to sue Grand Prairie Senior Hockey for um, taking a skate to the lip and severing my lip and hitting the deck and getting a concussion. I'm not looking to sue anybody for that. It's just something that happened. It's assumed risk when you play. So yeah, I think there's NHL could do a little bit better job with concussions and treatment and all that, but to put full blame on them and not assume any yourself, I just I can't relate to that. I didn't sue anybody when I got my concussion, and
Absolutely.
depending on who you ask, I still have lingering effects.
Oh, I know I do as well. Oh, I see you've put down the beer as well tonight.
I'm just having a water. It's another warm one here, so the cold beers will come back Thursday, I guess, when we have a special guest, Chris Dingman, 8 o'clock, special time. Uh, he's gonna join us, either watching his kids play or hiding out from watching his kids practice in the truck. But looking forward to talking to him again. It's been a little while, but definitely remember the first time I got to kind of interview him with Mr. Hebert, and thoroughly enjoyed it. He's a down to earth, pull no punches, so to speak, kind of guy. So it should be a good one.
No doubt about it. I'm looking forward to having Dinger on. I think that'll be pretty cool to hear stories about a Stanley Cup winner, two-time Stanley Cup winner, straight from the horse's mouth, and an Edmontonian and somebody that's been through it and the hard way. So I love it. I can't wait. I think that's going to be pretty cool. I'm super happy that he's decided to come and join us.
So you can't see this on your end there, Dash, but there's a James S. Watching along on YouTube, and right out of the gate, he's he chimed in, "Let's do this," to get us coming out hard. And when we were talking about Colby, he put up there Colby, and yeah, that's really all you need to say. So you ran an interesting poll this afternoon, and you took a lot of flack for it, but it was
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good question, and I guess I'll say what it was for people that
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, cue it up for sure. I was both surprised by some of the answers and also not surprised.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure I expected to get chirped as much as I did, but that's okay.
no, yeah. Anyway, so your question basically was, if a player was to go down, out of I think it was McDavid, Draisaitl, Nurse, or Smith, which would have the greater impact? And you really got taken to the woodshed by some people for just asking the question. I think it's a pretty good question, and I think the winner obviously was McDavid up until the point when I last saw it, anyways. But you know what? If any of those guys go down, I think this team would be uh, in some trouble for sure. Um, without McDavid, some people might say we'd be a lottery team again. Um, but I don't know. You take any of those guys out of the lineup for a significant stretch, and I think it's going to have a massive impact on this
Of
team.
course.
And I think that's kind of the difference between the Edmonton Oilers and somebody like the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they survived without Kucherov and Stamkos, and you know were able to add all those pieces come playoff time. Say whatever you want about all that, but they were a playoff team without some pretty significant pieces, and I don't think we could you know chart the same course as they did. I mean,
Yeah.
um, if they lost Vasilevsky, they probably still could be a playoff team, um,
Yeah.
and a threat. So, yeah, I thought it was a good poll. I appreciated the question. Some people just took you to school for it, but I thought,
Yeah, I was they were pretty playful chirps at the most part. Where it came from is I was I don't know. This is a bit of a we're in the dog days of summer. There's not a lot going on. Oiler wise, there's a little bit going on NHL wise. We try to keep this Oiler centric. We could go talk about other hockey things, but yeah, it's more fun to just go back and keep it to who we love. Um, in trying to get some spark for the show, I requested this time some different ideas from some different friends, and so this one came back from Petey and Winyard, and he was the one who asked me, like which, and I'm not saying any words that can jinx us or anything, but let's just say someone misses a chunk of time. I don't know why, but if that happens, Who hurts you the most? I almost didn't put McDavid in there because I knew, as us as Oiler fans and Oiler faithful, we're gonna jump on that. No differently than my last poll where I got 90% of the vote on McDavid and Draisaitl, when quite honestly I was just kind of trying to figure out how important people thought Tippett was. This one was also, most of my polls are a little bit loaded as far as questions go, and this was too. Obviously knew McDavid was going to be the number one answer. I didn't expect it to be that dominant, to be honest. Um, I'll get to what my loaded part of the question is, but I got to read some of these chirps, man. Like these guys did really well, I think. Um, like at one point in time, there was 23% of the vote wasn't on McDavid, and Beaker at Oil Beak says 23% of oil fans have been consuming too many drugs. Well, maybe more than that, but 23% are also dumb too. Some people just saying losing Smith would be a positive. That's in from Boosh Bombs. How the hell is Draisaitl last? Holy shit, guys, in from Dylan. Um, this question is fucking dumb. This can't be a serious question. Um, I honestly feel like McDavid has a case for being the most underrated player. Like just funny stuff, right? Here's what I was looking for, and the question was born actually from the root of Darnell Nurse, and Petey and I kind of both agreed that we've got center depth now. Draisaitl and McDavid being centers. Yeah, sure. Smith might be our best shot. I don't even know anymore, man. Our goaltending's such a stupid conundrum. I wake up in sweat some nights thinking it's gonna be Koskinen, and I wake up then other mornings thinking it's gonna be Stalock. And I don't know, like Stalock was good the last time he played hockey, but he was also only kind of decent. And man, Minnesota had good defense, and I don't think we do. But anyways, whichever goalie this is, I almost said goaltending instead of Smith, to be honest, just to try to make it a bit of a fair shot. But I honestly think we have depth at every single one of those positions that are listed, except for left side D and what Darnell Nurse can do. I think oh man, knock on some wood, Nurse. I think if we lose one of those top centers for any chunk of time, or we lost Smith or any chunk of time, there's somebody that can step up. I think we've got Nuge for a third line center. If he needs to move into the 2 slot, and Derek Ryan needs to move into the 3 slot, and one of those other guys has to move around. We've got Hyman that can play some center. We've got Fogle that can play some center. I don't know. I think, I don't want to lose them by no stretch of the imagination. Do I? I want all those guys to play every game of the season this year. And I don't, it's just, it's a question because it's a GM's job to build depth. And Darnell Nurse, we talked about it quite a bit actually, about how unique of a player he is to us, right? It's just not that he's our number one defenseman. It's the intangibles that he brings. It's the old school hockey. It's the rough and tumble. And I think losing Adam Larson is going to be very, very, very missed. I believe that type of hockey that he played is a very, very difficult brand of hockey to do consistently over 82 games and not get hurt and keep that intimidation up. And Nurse can do that. You have said, I've said, you've said how many times Duncan Keith needs to be protected. He needs protection on those minutes. He needs to be playing 17. He can't be playing 25. I'm sorry, but if we miss any time with number 25, which has never happened, Darnell Nurse, like maybe that's why he deserves his money. Partly why he deserves his money. The kid doesn't get hurt. But, oops, I said the H word. If he misses some time somehow, Duncan Keith's our number one lefty, and that scares the shit out of me way more than Draisaitl or Nuge having to fill in at center for a period of time. So that was where I came out on it. I honestly would have voted for Nurse if I could vote on my own poll. Where did you vote?
What did I say? I think I did say Nurse because if he goes down, then Duncan Keith is your top pairing lefty, and I'm not excited about that. I think he'll do all right in the slot. But
Well, and that makes Cuckoo our number 2 lefty. And I know how you feel about Slater Cuckoo, especially that second year.
yeah, the AC Slater Saved by the Bell gifs for Slater Cuckoo are going to come out in full force by me next season in the Mega Thread. I promise.
Along with Vogel from Superbad, I'm sure.
Yeah, Fogo.
So, all right. So, Fogel, Mohammed, whatever. Anyways, um, I think that's where I stand on that. So I appreciate that one from Petey. I got another interesting one that actually just came in. I've been prepped you on this. In fact, this is kind of our mail it in episode. Let's just kind of put that out there because generally Durst and I talk quite a bit throughout the week. We're chatting on our lunch breaks while we're eating bologna sandwiches and peanut butter and jam. And we haven't talked a bunch this week. We both got some stuff going on, and we kind of came together at about 8 o'clock here to plan the show tonight. So, doing things on the fly is not my favorite, but we are going to do it nonetheless, and we'll see how this mail it in episode goes. Sometimes we are a little more organic. It works in our favor. So, this is a surprise to you, my friend. Tommy T from the Grove. Are the Oilers to be, and this actually kind of feeds off our poll, are the Oilers going to be a better team running 3 centermen, that's McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nuge, with their newfound winger depth, and have Ryan as the 4th center? Or does running 2 really strong lines up front and relying on McLeod to be the everyday 4C work better for the Oilers? Tommy T.
Yeah, I think no matter what, you kind of have to separate Connor and Leon to have your best lineup out there. And I would like to see Ryan McLeod as the 3rd line center, not the 4th line center, and Derek Ryan the 4th line center. That's kind of what I'd like to see up the middle.
If ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas, Durst.
Terrific.
Um, I think we're going to be a better team if we can run 97, 29, and 93 separately. I think we have the depth to do it, but it's whether the chemistry comes through, right? Like you can't just sprinkle chemistry dust on Fogel and Nuge and just know that it's going to work, right? And Tippett already loves putting the lines in the blender, and I think we have a lot more diversity and a lot more combinations we can go to because of the way that Holland has picked up these people that can play multiple positions and kind of those utility players that can slot in and a top role or Cassian still has a shot at being on the first line, doesn't he? Really, he lost that shot. He lost that spot. So you could. In order to do that, I think you have to have at least 6 wingers going, or 5 or 6 wingers going. Otherwise, you're gonna see the Yamamoto, Draisaitl, Nuge line back together, or you're gonna see McDavid, Playarvi, and Dry back together. Which still leaves you 2 top strong lines, but it just puts one of those top 3 centers on the wing. So, I think McDavid likes having Nuge on his wing, and what McDavid wants, McDavid gets.
Yeah, to me the competition is for first line left wing. I think Puljujarvi last season earned that right wing.
He was playing
first line.
Yeah.
Spot.
Oh, sorry. Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they played pretty well together.
And honestly, I think Yamamoto, Nugent Hopkins, and Draisaitl should be your second line. So it's a flip a coin to see who gets first line left wing.
Right.
To me, that's the battle. I wouldn't mind seeing a third line of McLeod, Fogel, and Cassian.
Oof. Size and speed.
And pound you through the wall.
Right. If Cassian wants to play pound you through the wall hockey still.
Yeah, well, if he doesn't, Fogel will.
Yeah, or drag him along with him, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, I like that. Thanks, Tommy. That's a good one too, buddy. anything in on the text line you want to jump on, or any questions that way before we get into our segment?
James is the only one really commenting there from YouTube, and he just kind of reiterated if Nurse goes down, Keith and Barry are your top pair. So
Yeah,
that's
terrifying.
Well, I mean, that's not exactly ideal. So if that was the case, you're shooting for 5 or 6 goals a night because you're probably going to give up 4 or 5. So
yeah, man. Yeah, and we're playing Fire Wagon Barn Burner.
Let's go!
80s hockey. Speaking of 80s hockey, all right, let's jump into this segment. I don't know, we're gonna use the frack, but instead of what the frack, it's gonna be a who the frack. So this is the only prep that we've done. Started at about 7 p.m. I thought it was gonna be a breeze. Got to about my top 7. Then I sat there and spun for about 40 minutes trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do. Who the frack are your favorite top 10 Oilers of all time? All right, so that's the list that we've thrown out there. That's what we're going to have a little discussion about. We flipped a coin. It came up with a moose on it, so that means I go first. All right, so what I've done is I got through my top 7 to 8 pretty easily, and then I realized that I missed a few, and then I had to do some shuffling, and so I've decided to go with 5 honorable mentions as well. I know that's a little bit of cheating, but I can see it in your eyes right now, and I think you're gonna cheat too. So I'm a poker player, Durst. Don't forget, I can read you like a book. All right. So honorable mentions. All right, coming in with my first honorable mention, he wore jersey number 31, Curtis Joseph. Loved my goalies growing up. I wanted to be a goalie. I was never good enough. Every time we played floor hockey for intramurals, I wanted to play goal. Every time we played street hockey, I wanted to play goal. I was in love with masks. He had the coolest mask of all time, in my opinion. I love dogs. Everything about Cujo was super cool to me. Jersey number 7, he's in our Hall of Fame, Paul Coffey. Hard not to go back to some of those glory days and remember him wheeling the puck up the ice, and my dad telling me how much he reminded him of Bobby Orr. And I wore my skates 2 sizes too small because Paul Coffey said you're supposed to. I still got my toes that are curled into the bottom of my foot as a result. Thanks a lot, Paul. Another honorable mention coming in at number 83, Hammer. Man, it was hard not to get him in my top 10. I wanted to. I really did. Hammer pulled me through a lot of my dark years, through the decade of darkness, and watching Smitty and Hemsky and Hork and some of those guys were all we had. Smitty and Steos, and watching those 2 guys just get ornery as 2 alligators back there. Loved it. Speaking of those years, this is my other honorable mention, and he wore number 39, Dougie Waite. I had a hard time trying to find room in my top 10. I really wanted to. I couldn't. Was a player that hauled us through. I think he was our best player for at least a number 5-6 years, and was one of those guys that was supposed to transition us to the next ones after the 90s, and we're still waiting for that to happen. So thanks, Doug. Number 93, the Nuge. Mr. does everything above average. Doesn't do much wrong, and I mean that as a person in the community, with fans, on the ice, in the dressing room. If I had a daughter, I'd want her to marry Nuge. Yeah, I don't know why I just said that. All right, top 10. So, ironically enough, coming in at number 10, he wore jersey number 10. Tick. The Esa Tikkanen. He spoke his own language. His teammates didn't understand him. The other team didn't understand him. His other Finnish compadres didn't understand him. And that's just the way he wanted it. Kept people guessing. I honestly modeled my game after Tikkanen because I knew I wasn't gonna see the ice like Gretzky. I knew I wasn't gonna, score 50 like Mess. I knew I wasn't gonna play D, and I couldn't play between the pipes. So that was the guy. It was Matthew Barnaby, Esa Tikkanen. Those guys were guys that I tried, and I was a pest out there. I was chirping. I was one of those guys that had a relentless pursuit of the puck, and like went into those corner battles and came out with the puck and went to the greasy areas. And if I scored 20 goals in a year, there was and you added all the feet up in between the ice I covered to score those goals, it would have been about 16 feet on 20 goals, and same with Tikin, and he got to the right place to smash that rebound home or whatever it was, and I just love that about him. Um, Coming on at number 9, but perhaps the biggest piece of my heart, number 27, the bodyguard, Dave Smenko. Cheers. Smenk, miss ya. Number 8. It was tough. These next few were really like interchangeable for me. It got pretty tough, to be honest. But another Hockey Hall of Famer, he wore number 17, and Yari Curry was the wingman to the GOAT. Um, if we couldn't be the GOAT, we wanted to be Curry. That first guy to jump up in street hockey and say, "I'm Gretzky." Well, guess what? I'm Curry. So I remember those days, and I wore those street hockey jerseys proud, and loved it. Curry, my favorite moment was when I still lived in Saskatchewan. He had already retired, but he wrote a book when he got back to Finland, and was doing a book tour. And so he came, of course, through Edmonton for his book tour, and so this, like 20 years ago, has to be somewhere in that range. Our producer and fact checker there will probably be on this, except we don't have one. So Curry was doing a book signing at West Edmonton Mall. I'd driven 9 hours from Wynyard, Saskatchewan, or Regina, wherever I was living. No, that would have been Regina, I guess. So call it a 7-hour drive. Got to West Edmonton Mall, which takes another 7 hours to park, and then I waited in one of those snake lineups for about another 7 hours, starting at like 3 in the morning or something like that. In such a rush to get in line. Of course, I'm in my 20s. I don't read the rules. I don't know what I'm doing, but I got a backpack with a Curry jersey and his replica banner that got lifted into the rafters. And I get to the front of the line after 7 hours, and this is pre-smartphones, man. You don't get to just sit there and play Candy Crush the entire time you're in line. Like, you just sit there and stare and people watch. It was a long ass time. And I got to the front of the line, and I went to go pull out my jersey, and the security guard said, "No, you can't get that autographed." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me. What?" And Curry heard me, and he said, "No, only books can be autographed." And I was a university student. To pay $50 for a hardcover book that I probably didn't have $50 to my name if I got myself to Edmonton. And I was crushed. I'm sure Curry saw it on my face. I'm sure the security guard saw it on my face. And I just looked at him with those biggest puppy dog eyes I could give him and said, "Man, I drove 14 hours to get here, and 5 of those were in the parking lot of this mall. I've been waiting in line since 3 in the morning, and that's about where I got to in my plea before Yari said, 'Come here,' and he signed the entire bag of stuff, everything I had." So that was my Yari Curry story. Coming in at number 7, he wore jersey 29. Where's jersey number 29? Leon Draisaitl. This changed a lot for me recently. I'm telling you, when I saw Draisaitl play in Kelowna, and when I saw him play in PA before that, we were Oil Kings season ticket holders, and I remember the Raiders coming, and I hated his body language. I hated he came off as a selfish player to me. Like, I don't know whether he was frustrated with, people couldn't see the ice the same way he could, or what it was. I don't know. And, like, I think we'd all agree that Leon's come to a different place in his maturity over the years, but the more I hear him talk like that, he's kind of just got resting bitch face, you know? Like he's just like he doesn't get too high and he doesn't get too low. And like what the hell's wrong with that, right? And you hear him talk about his country, you hear him talk about his teammates, you hear him talk about how much he loves Connor. He's really clawed up this list hard for me. And when a guy like that gets 50 goals for our team and it's the first guy since Craig Simpson and you know what I mean? That's something to be proud of. I think Leon's really charted up there for me. Uh, Number 6, Hockey Hall of Famer, wore number 11. It's in the rafters. It's apparently the best leader of all time. There's an award for it, anyways. Mark Messier. You know, hard not to love the best number 2 center that ever lived. That you know is third all time in scoring, even though he was always on a second line. Um, what else can you say about Mark? Um, Now I get into my top 5. So I don't know where you think I'm going here, but I think there'll probably be a few surprises, and I really went with my heart. So number 5, there's a jersey hanging in the room next to me, right beside Messier's and Gretzky's, and it's also a number 31. It's not Cujo's, it's Grand Fear's. Um, Grand Fear was somebody I wanted to be every time I played street hockey goal, every time I played floor hockey goal. A really good friend of mine growing up, Joe Bart, always also wanted to be Grant Fuhr. So we always had to be on the other team so that, you know, whether it was street hockey or floor hockey and intramurals, there was always Bart at one end on the between the pipes and me at the other end. So I wanted to wear the mask. I wanted to be athletic. I wanted to do everything that Grant Fuhr did. You know, maybe other than the mounds of wolf, but other than that, you know, he's become a role model. He fought through adversity not only because of his race, but because of his drug addictions, the scrutiny. Nothing but love, nothing but love. I met him at a couple of golf charity games. He's one of the most humble human beings I've ever met. He's so gracious with the fans, so gracious with his time. Um, you know, and came up with one of the greatest quotes of all time when it comes to hockey. And Grant, why the hell did you play 48 holes of golf before Game 7? You know the answer, Durs?
I,
Grant said,
I,
because I couldn't play 72.
yeah, I think it was 36,
Oh yeah, 36.
and
I'm
then
sorry.
and then he said, "Why did you play 36 holes of golf in between games of the Stanley Cup
That's what it
final?"
was. That's right.
Because there wasn't enough time to play 72. That was his
There you
answer.
go.
Yeah,
See, we do have a fact checker. I told you.
that's right. I got you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So number 4. Um, he doesn't wear number 14 anymore. He wore 7 for the Islanders. He wore 7 for the Regina Pats, but he wore number 14 for the Edmonton Oilers. And man, I love me some Ebs. Um, from his World Junior heroics. I always laughed when Taylor Hall would be on radio in Edmonton and he'd correct radio hosts like Jason Greger and say, no, 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 we don't call them the World Juniors in our house. We call them the Jordan Eberleys. The greatest Team Canada World Junior goal of all time, in my opinion. A Regina native. I lived there. I was a season ticket holder for the Pats. I know some of Jordan's family. One of his cousins I went to university with, and I played Kaiser with him in University of Regina cafeterias. We were partners for a while in our 3-spot Kaiser games, and we used to play against some of those other guys and skip classes all the time. In fact, I remember playing against Jason Clegg all the time. He was our goalie for the U of R Cougars at the time. I think still has the U of R record for highest save percentage. But his son actually just signed a contract with the LA Kings a few days ago. Um, so good on the Clegg family. Congratulations, Jay. Good thing you skipped all that time going to university and just played cards with me because your kid's gonna take care of you. So loved me some Everly. Just he came from my favorite junior team. He came from the city that I was in for a long time, and he came to our team. And with all the World Junior hoopla, scored the greatest first goal of anybody in a career ever. Um, just like the hype was there. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Maybe the number top three get a little, easy, I guess. It was the order that was tough for me. It certainly wasn't tough to pick the top three, but at number three comes jersey number 94, and that's Ryan Smith. Oilers heart and soul, kept me a fan. Bleeds Oilers, still bleeds Oilers. You know, always had Edmonton in his heart with every team he ever played for. Said it in his press conference that he was bringing a cup back to Edmonton. Too bad he never got a chance. Um, Met him a few times, nothing overly, intimate other than I was two people ahead of him in line at Home Depot one time. Me and my friend Ben were loading up some wood for a poker table we were going to build and looked over our shoulder because I recognized the voice when I heard the cashier say, "Oh, how are you?" And, "Oh, good." So, and it was Smitty, and he was buying a barbecue. So me and my friend Ben got to help Smitty load his barbecue in the back of his truck. And again, just heart and soul Edmontonian, heart and soul Oiler, um, Captain Canada, answered the bell every time he could. Um, Number two, the GOAT, Wayne Gretzky. Anybody who knows me is absolutely shocked right now. Um, I have Wayne Gretzky cereal boxes I've kept. I have Wayne Gretzky lunch pails. I have the Wayne Gretzky Barbie. I see Michael Hebert just picked up a new one, mint in box. Attaboy. I have Wayne. I have the cover. I have the newspaper from every city across the entire country from the day he retired in 1999. I have every Sports Illustrated magazine that Wayne Gretzky's ever been on. I've got every magazine I could ever find that Wayne Gretzky's ever been on the cover on. I've got 7 to 8 binders of Wayne Gretzky cards, 7 to 8 binders of Wayne Gretzky magazines. And with all that said, my number one has become Connor McDavid. Yeah, man, you know what it come down to was I'm old enough to appreciate it. Um, I grew up in those glory years. I was in my, impressionable years when I was easily influenced and, being born in 1976, the Oilers are clipping by, 1983, 84. That's, 8 years old. I'm a pretty easily malleable kid at that point in time. My dad's telling me that this is the greatest show on skates. Sit and watch this and take it all in because I'm not sure you're ever going to see this again. I remember that advice from the old man, and I never forgot it. But now I recognize how incredible it is. And I wasn't a season ticket holder then, and I am now. So I get to see Connor McDavid close up. I never got to see Wayne Gretzky close up. I get to see how much better he is than everybody else on the ice. And this is going to be another asinine statement, and you can tell me so. But even when Wayne Gretzky played, man, he had Mario. Like I honestly think that Connor McDavid is a degree better than his peers than Wayne Gretzky was better than his peers. Is that crazy?
Oh man, there's things that Mario Lemieux could do that Wayne couldn't, but there was a lot that Wayne Gretzky could do on the ice that Mario couldn't. So it's kind of,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Who on the ice can do right now what Connor McDavid can do?
Well, there isn't anybody in NHL history that can stride for stride keep up to him. So
Nah. And if you put Connor McDavid in a DeLorean and you set it for 88 miles an hour and sent him back to 1988, Connor McDavid would score 300 points in a season. With the way goaltending was and the speed he has, I know that's asinine, and I know that you can't, when it's all said and done, it's not realistic. But I'm just saying that's how much better of I think Connor McDavid's the best player to ever put on skates.
you just took
But
this.
Wayne Gretzky's the GOAT.
you just took this whole thing into a totally different discussion that I don't know I want to entertain tonight, but I'll just say that if Wayne Gretzky, was born at the same time as Connor McDavid and went through all of the same kind of training and eating and weightlifting
Good point.
regiments that Connor did, you'd have a pretty special player too. If you want to go on YouTube and watch an old race between like Sugar Ray Leonard and Wayne Gretzky and a few other high-profile athletes, and Wayne kicks their ass like big time.
Yeah.
People just they don't have a concept of how good an athlete he was as well. And
Yeah.
the thing about Wayne that most people don't know is Walter Gretzky was training his peripheral vision pretty much since he was 3 years old. Like he'd be watching Hockey Night in Canada, and Walter would make him chart where the puck was going all the time without looking.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And then he'd look at his piece of paper at the end of the game and see where all the pen was,
I,
and that's where the puck goes. So that's where I need to be. And then that's how he got his vision for sure. He credits that.
yeah. I talked about that one time on one of Eric Friesen's podcasts. You know, Walter was like a Phil Jackson or Scotty Bowman or whatever, like way ahead of his
Yeah.
time with his thinking.
Friesen just invited me on 99 Forever. We're going to do that in the next couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So I guess since you went kind of from 10 to 1, I'll go from 1 down. Um,
One up?
yeah. So for me, at the top of my list is Wayne. Um, and I think Connor might, surpass him at some point in my kind of thought process. Um, but with Wayne, being a big part of the first Stanley Cup and kind of the next three to follow. Um, I've got so many memories of Wayne Gretzky, and one of my favorite hockey games that I ever attended was with my dad. And Gretzky was playing as an LA King against us, and that was the night he broke Gordy's record. I was at that game with my dad.
Oh, wow. No way.
And it seemed like a pretty pedestrian night for Wayne, and I think he had 3 points, goes into overtime, scores the overtime winner, had a 4-point night, pretty pedestrian night, and just dominated the game. And it didn't even seem like like Connor. You notice him, right? Wayne was kind of in those dark areas and just making things happen, and pucks are going in the net, and hands are just kind of gently going up. And I mean, he was so good, and he could dominate games and just take them over, and just a special player. So he's at the top for me. Connor McDavid is number 2 on my list. Um, you know, you used to call him the Russian Rocket in Vancouver there, number 10, and a special player in his own right. And Connor McDavid not only has that speed like that Pavel had, but it's almost like stick handling in a phone booth. 2 strides and he's gone. Just that explosive, unreal speed that he possesses. It's, I mean, that's hook it up to my veins because it's straight adrenaline, right? And I love to watch.
Yeah.
I love to watch him on the ice. Number 3 for me is number 11, Mark Messier. Probably the most intimidating centerman that could put up numbers probably ever to play the game, or at least in the conversation. That's a fucking joke. You give me a penalty because my fucking stick broke. Well, that whole thing from Boys on the Bus.
Boys on the Bus.
It cracks me up. I've seen that clip probably hundreds of times, and I still laugh at it every time. Like how intense the guy was, and him arguing with Wayne over wine and whatever about you got to challenge yourself. You got to be challenging something. I could recite
just the most competitive guy on earth.
Yeah, I could recite pretty much all of that stuff. Number 4 for me is Glenn Anderson. I had the pleasure of playing in a kind of a game against firefighters here in Grand Prairie. My boss sponsored me to play with him, like with ex-alumni guys, and We got to play a
Nice.
we got to play a period with the guy from that played for the Jets, and then the second period I got to play with Jim Poplinski, and I was waiting for him at the blue line, and I wasn't very fast then. And then the third period, Andy was our centerman, and I mean it was great. He sprung me for a breakaway, and I was so nervous that I rattled it off the bar and into like about 15 feet above the glass, and
Straight off the pipe.
straight off the pipe. And then I set him up for one of his probably 15 goals he had that game. Like he was just. I think the score was like 18-3, and I remember coming off the bench, and Mark Napier was on the team too, and he was just chewing everybody out because it wasn't. We weren't. You got to go hard. You can't let up, and the score is like 12-1.
Yeah.
Dave Tiger Williams. I'm skating around in warm up. He comes, he gives me a two-hander and knocks my stick out and kicks it like off into the boards, and he's like, "You get a hold of that." And we're on the same team, and I'm just shaking my head. Everybody else is laughing. So
Now you can't ride your stick to celebrate a goal like he did because he knocked it out of your hands.
yeah, number 5 for me is Yari Kari, and I've got an autograph story about Yari too. I was 12 years old, and there was a practice at West Edmonton Mall. And he's coming out, from underneath the curtain, and I was so excited. I saw him, and I ran over to him, and he comes out from under the curtain, and I kind of hit him. I pretty much gave him the hardest body check he saw all week, and kind of stumbled back, and he gets up, and he's got his wife is there, and they just had twins, and I'm like, "Can I get your autograph?" He's like, "Yeah, but don't hit me no more." So he signed my autograph, and that was great, and it wasn't hard at all. I chased Lee Fogelin halfway down the mall into like some store where he was buying tobacco. That doesn't happen anymore. But I thought he was Messier because all I saw was like a little strip of hair and then kind of the back. And it was Lee Fogelin, and I was 12 and I barely knew who he was. Number 6 for me is Paul Coffey. Smooth skating defenseman and just a joy to watch. And yeah, I loved watching Paul. I got more forwards on my list than defensemen because that's kind of how I roll. But Paul's definitely one of the best I've ever seen play. So he's number 6. Number 7 for me, Ryan Smith. 94, kind of the year I graduated. So I believe that's why he went with 94 too. I, if I could pick a guy that kind of, if I took me and had the skills to make the NHL, but, I didn't add too much, it would be Ryan Smith because I was kind of this. I guess I can raise the puck when I shoot, but I like a stick with.
Hopefully you had a better muffin than Smitty.
I like a stick with a little bit of a curve, but going to the net and tipping pucks and standing in front and making the goalie's life miserable and all that. That's kind of a lot of how I play the game. I like to think that I have pretty good vision on the ice, and that I think I get that a little bit from being a point guard in basketball, and I'm always looking for other people cutting to the net, and if there's somebody close, I'll get them the puck. But as for just the whole, Ryan Smith going to the net, standing in that crease area, not afraid to take a licking, and smart defensively, not a liability in your own end, and giving it everything you have and just loving the game. That's probably why I have him so high. I love the way he played, and I love that he gave everything, and that he was all Edmonton all the time, and how happy he was to be an Oiler, and the stories of meeting the guys, the 80s crew on the golf courses in Banff, and one day playing for the organization and coming back and the whole thing. So Smitty's number 7. Number 8 is the other guy with Ryan that got me through some really dark times as an Oiler fan. Ales Hemsky just had a birthday. The guy was a wizard, and I loved watching him when he would get the puck or coming back for a pass. He would come back and kind of do like a little bit of a curl route and then head up ice. And once the puck was on his stick, it took him a little bit longer than Connor, but the guy could fly too, and he could stick handle in a phone booth and turn people inside out and upside down. I used to love when, Robin Regier and Dion Phaneuf would try to kill him, and he would just skate through the middle of them and be off on a breakaway. Gutsy player, a lot of people criticize him for work ethic and, first guy off the ice and all this bullshit. There was a training camp held here, I think it was in 2007 or 2008 in Grand Prairie, and it was the exact opposite of everything you heard. He was the first guy on and the last guy off, but nobody talked about it. You just want to dog him for work ethic or whatever. It was like he was supposed to get 50 goals and 70 assists a season, and the whole time he was here, it was kind of like, get Hemsky a shooter, get him a sniper, and they never really did, so that's
No.
it's kind of a black eye on the organization, that I guess it was close to getting Yager to be his guy, and that was I guess close to happening, but it didn't. And he never really did get that bona fide sniper. Like I just think about it now, and I imagine if he had Leon, if Hemsky had Leon to be shooting off the half wall and stuff like that, like what kind of damage they would have done, because he was just a phenomenal passer, and yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Alish. I enjoyed watching him every night. Anyway, number 9 for me is another number 27, but not Semenko. It's George Larac. I enjoyed watching George, do his craft night in, night out. I don't think he ever really lost a fight anytime I ever saw him in an Oiler uniform, even with guys like Derek Bugard, and he just was an animal. And I remember one time I was at an Oiler game and I was there early, and Eric Brewer and Marchant and Smith and all those guys are coming up, and most of those guys are in big Ford Expeditions or Explorers and that, and they're coming in, and here comes this little Lexus, this white Lexus. And these legs like just come out like almost like from the roof onto the ground, and here comes this Coke machine, and I thought it was an NFL player, and it's George Larac. Like the guy was just a specimen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I loved sitting close to watch him do his business, and the night he got his hat trick, and when George scored a goal, the whole building shifted because he would smash into the glass and all that.
Were you at that game?
No, I wasn't at his hat trick game.
I was still bouncing in Regina at that time, and that was like only my 4th Oiler game I'd ever got to go to. And a guy that I used to let into the bar all the time, and then you walk down the street in Edmonton and everybody's got an Oilers hat on. When you're in Regina, every 1,000th person has an Oilers hat on, so you notice them, right? Like this guy would always come to the bar, and I asked him why are you an Oilers fan? Like, why are you always wearing that? Like, you're such a diehard. And his uncle was the video coach. So he invited me to a game the next time that his uncle said that he could come. And so we got a full tour of the dressing room and everything before the game. Well, of course, isn't that the game that George Larac gets a hat trick? So his uncle, being the video coach, printed off a copy of the game sheet for me. And I have George Laroc's autograph on that game sheet from that game, and got my Doug Waite jersey autographed to Mike. Best wishes, Doug Waite, right in behind the doors at the old Rexall place where he was being interviewed. And the only reason I got Doug Waite's autograph is because every reporter was with George.
So coming in at number 10 for me is the big German Leon Draisaitl, and my favorite Leon moment was being in the Saddle Dome for his 50th goal, and something else terrible happened that game, but I didn't see it because my son wanted a hot dog and a snack. So, and the other moment I have of Leon is being at skills competition. He actually beat Taylor Hall in the fastest skater that year, so that was good to see. and I'm gonna break the rules and I'm gonna go well beyond 10 because I've got so many Oilers in the repertoire.
I
Uh,
knew you were gonna cheat.
so number 11 for me is Douglas Waite. Hemmer was great on the half wall, but so wasn't Dougie Waite. He could stop time.
Exactly.
He could stop time over there on the power play, and
Yeah,
um,
man.
that he also could stick handle like nobody's business and score some pretty sweet goals. A lot of time for Dougie Waite. And I guess it's fitting that if I'm putting Doug at 11, I got to put Billy G at number 12.
He
Uh,
was so close to making my 15, man.
yeah, Billy Guerin, special player, special shot, sandpaper and grit there as well. Um, and it's kind of fitting.
Beat the shit out of you and then score two to win it.
Yeah, and it's kind
He
of
was a Wolverine, man.
and along with those guys, I got to go with Mike Greer at 13. I loved fucking Greer. Um, and shout out to his shoulder.
I was gonna say this is number 14 in Mike Greer's shoulder.
Yeah, retire Mike Greer's shoulder. That's what the Oilers need to do. I've said that for a while. That's my joke, but I love Mike Greer and his intensity. After Mike Greer, I got to go with Darnell Nurse at my
Yeah.
14 spot. I love Nurse. I love you know just kind of the guy that can do anything you ask on the ice and you know kill you in the corner and score a goal going the other way and um, he doesn't really get rattled too often. Like you don't see him shook on the ice, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
He'll take on anybody and durable as hell. And I'm glad he's an Edmonton Oiler. I'm glad we have him for the next 9 years. After Nurse, this is going to be a bit of a surprise, but I got to go with Mike Pekka, the 1 year wonder. Um, kind of had like a
Wow.
kind of had a bit of a off season the year he was here, but towards the end of that, he really picked it up, and I think he got Rafi Torres and Fernando Pisani playing at levels that they never played at ever again. And I think a lot
Well,
of
shout out to him being our coach in the playoffs that year as well.
I think I
Rumors are that Matt T shut the door and Pronger and Pekka took over and decided what was actually happening on the ice that playoff.
and to piggyback Mike Pekka, I got to put Pronger at my 16 spot. I don't want to say too much about Pronger, but definitely enjoyed having him on the team for that season. Although I never really did get over my hate for Chris Pronger, but I was glad he was an Oiler for that year.
That's true. I know we'd be the same way if we got Perry. I think I'd love to watch him skate around in Oilers jersey, or if it was a Kessler per se, I'd never ever forgive him. In fact, I'm still a little bit with Cassian that way when he two-handed Sam Gagne across the face and broke his jaw.
Yeah,
It took me years to really adopt Zach Cassian again.
I'm pretty sure I teed off on Cassian for that, and I'm blocked by him on Twitter, but that's a different story. No, number 17 for me is Tikkanen Essa. Um, like you said, a different language, and
Ticanese!
yeah, and you know, if it, Glenn Anderson's probably the Edmonton Oiler that went to the net the hardest out of anybody I've ever seen, and Tikkanen's probably close behind that. So number 18, Sam Gagne,
Yeah,
Mr. 8 Point Night, the shootout wonder, just good person and pretty good player, and
good family.
yeah. 19 might be a bit of a surprise to some people is Anson Carter.
Hmm.
I loved Anson as well. I like those power forwards that can score and play a physical game, and I liked Anson as an Oiler. Um,
You must have loved that line of Wade, Guerin, and Carter when they flew then.
we're gonna go with at the 20 spot Mike Comrie. Um, at his first go around here, I,
Hmm.
I was glad he was a Oiler and kind of appreciated his talent. But honestly, he he endured like he drew me into him when he came back and he fought Craig Conroy right at center ice, and you know the little engine that could. I got time for Mike Comrie. Number
It was fun watching him and Stoley play together in Kootenay.
number 21 for me is Charlie Huddy. Um, I I don't have as many memories left of Charlie
Do you have a
Huddy.
list of 99?
I should. I should.
We said 10.
I should, yeah. And I got at number 22, Dave Semenko. Um, I believe well, I don't believe. I was at a game where he was in a fight with Tim Hunter, and that only happened once, but that's a joke. Anyway, and they were squaring off, and I think like Hunter was doing okay. So Semenko kind of grabbed him by the back of the head and drew Hunter's face in and kind of headbutted him in the nose, and broke his nose again, and that kind of ended that fight.
You go your next one. I'm going to be right back because I want to show you something, Semenko. You keep going. Keep going.
All right. So in at 23 is Kevin Lowe. Just kind of that gritty, you're not getting anywhere on me kind of player. And at 24, I've got Jason Smith, Gator.
Gator.
Yeah. What can you say? The guy was just a machine out there. People talk about Adam Larson being hard to play against. Well, Gator was on a different level. I mean, some people refer to Adam Larson as Swedish Gator, but there's only one.
No.
There's only one Gator.
Gator was angry. No. Beat up Hornets Nest, man. He was mean. He was ruthless. He used his stick like Dr. Hook McCracken. There was a good, intimidating player there. You don't mean this fight, do you?
Possibly. I was little, so the memories are a little faint.
That's Semenko beating the hell out of Hunter, and
yeah,
one of the famous famous fights where you got him to leak.
Yeah, I've got one more, and it's probably a bit of a surprise as well. At 25 is Dustin Pancakes Penner. I was at a game sitting really close to the benches, and right in front of me, Hemsky got kind of gooned by a guy from Dallas, and Penner grabbed the guy, and he pulled him in, and he basically lifted him off the ice and one punched him, and that was the end of the fight. It was over. The same in the same game. I'm not sure if it was before or after. I can't remember, but Penner was cutting in on the right hand side against Marty Turco, and Penner almost took like a route almost from the goal line and in, and roofed it over Turco's shoulder. One of the craziest goals I've ever seen, and beautiful. And if he would have had an assist, it would have been a great Gordie Howe hat trick, but I think he was shy of the assist. So that's my top 25. I kind of blew past 10. 10 was way too fucking hard. And
way to over prep.
I basically went to 30 because I got my top 5 goalies, and in at number 1 is Grant Fuhr. I don't think I need to say much about him. Curtis Joseph is number 2. Billy Ranford number 3. Cam Talbot number 4, and Tommy Salo at number 5.
Wow, there's a few surprises in there, buddy. I didn't expect you to say Mike Pekka or Mike Connery. I think both of those guys might be on a list I made of least favorite Oilers, to be honest.
There you go.
That's maybe a discussion for another day.
That is.
Speaking of backhands over Marty Turco and the Dallas Stars and your love of Ales Hemsky, let's not forget one of the greatest moments in all of hockey that Ray Ferraro will never let Patrick Stefan forget. But Marc-Andre Bergeron coughing up the puck at the blue line, sending in Patrick Stefan on a breakaway with an empty net. Whoops! Misses the net. Jared Stoll, back on the back check like he always was, snaps it cross ice across 3 lines over to Smitty. Smitty backhands over to Hemsky, who within seconds made Patrick Stefan a highlight reel for the next 100 years. So that was one of my favorite Hemsky moments, man, because I just for him to that would have been an exciting moment if he didn't score. You know what I mean?
Patrick Stefan, you should be embarrassed. That play does not belong in the National Hockey League.
Ray Ferraro verbatim. Attaboy.
That's the best call I think I've ever heard, honestly, or at least the one that's that and the other one by name. There's a new bunch on the block. The Edmonton Oilers have just won the Stanley Cup. I think those are the two most like memorable things in my head. In Oilers history, probably.
Outside of Jack Michaels and a few overtime calls with 3-on-3 and Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Some of those Jack Michaels calls are magic.
Yeah, Jack definitely puts everything he has into his calls. Definitely, doing a fine job of taking the reins from Hot Rod Phillips and running with it.
Yeah, you bet. Cam Moon's doing a good job of filling in for Jack when he's on the network too.
Yes, sir.
Well, what do you think, buddy? You think we've taken enough coincidental misconducts for one episode, or?
Yeah, that was. I'm sorry, I couldn't stop at 10. That was just that was that was the hardest homework assignment I've ever been given. I think that was a challenge for sure. You could keep going too. I mean, there's been so many great players.
Yeah. Yeah, I retched over it too. I thought it would be easy, and it wasn't. There's no doubt about it.
And if I did it again, I'd probably come up with a different list. Like it's just Bernie Nichols, Vincent Damphus. Like there's Joe Murphy, Adam Graves. There's so many. There's so many.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Taylor Hall and whatever, right? I mean, or maybe, I don't know, not Taylor Hall. I don't know. There's a lot of great players. Craig Simpson, right? I mean, Sheepers, man. You could go down the list and keep picking them off. There's no doubt about it. I'm glad you put Sam Gagner on there. I wanted to as well. But like you said, it's a tough gig to squeeze them all in. So, I don't know, man. That's all I probably got for tonight. I feel like I kind of dumped it in on a breakaway tonight, but...
Well, at least it didn't skip on you like Mr. Patrick Stefan.
That's right.
Yeah. You can blame shitty ice at Rexall, but you got to get that puck in the net.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Stars fans will say, well, you didn't win the game, though, but we got it into overtime, so.
Right.
And some people say, I forget what it was there with that, though, but getting that point there cost us a different pick. So.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, I think what I want to do to close, like if you've had enough on your end.
Yeah, why don't you do a tease and let everybody know what's going on Thursday, and for once in my life I'll just try to shut up.
Okay. So coming up on Thursday, probably right around 8 o'clock, Chris Dingman is going to join us for about 45 minutes to an hour. And we'll talk to him, about his experience in the NHL. We'll live vicariously through him, living vicariously through his kids on the ice now, and probably ask him a few questions on the Tampa Bay winning another cup and his feelings and on all that. And, it'll be a good time. I'm going to say, I'm going to close how I always close. Keep your sticks on the ice and keep reaching for the stars. Go Oilers, go. And I'm just going to take 12 seconds in honor of Colby Cave before we play the outro, starting now. All right, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on Thursday. Good night.
Rest in peace, Caver. Let's go, Oilers.